But wait for this. Any Richie Edhouse ultras in the crowd? Yes, I'm going to join in that one. How could you not be? He is enjoying such a sensational time of it at the moment, on the Euro Tour in particular. How on earth do you call this one?
This man has come dressed as Richie Edhouse. That is what has happened. He's even got the arm sleeve. Look, Richie Edhouse has been playing the best darts of his life for about a 3 or 4 month spell this year. It has got him a debut at the World Matchplay.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the weekly Dartscast in association with Darts Corner. I'm Alex Moss, and joining me as always, my co-host, the Darts statistician, Burton, DeWitt. How are you doing?
Couldn't get either of my tips for the match play to come through, so I've had better moments, but you know, if that's the only thing dragging you down, you can't really complain, can you? So I guess I'm doing great. How are you, Alex?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, the tips for the match play didn't go too well. I did tip Luke Littler to win the Cheshire Open, so I did get that one right. But it's a couple of weeks since we last spoke to you guys. The World Matchplay now in the books. A couple of trips to Blackpool for me as well, which I thoroughly enjoyed. More on that a bit later on, but lots to bring you on the show this week. We're going to be looking back at the World Matchplay in a moment. We're also going to be joined by the newly crowned 2-time back-to-back Women's World Matchplay champion, Beau Greaves. She spoke to our producer Hanna at the Winter Gardens just moments after defending her title. Plus, with the Pro Tour resuming next week, we're going to be joined by one of the newest Players' Championship winners, Alan Soutar, and the Philippines' #1 Christian Perez. Great to chat with those two a few weeks ago. But before all of that, let's start with our review of the World Matchplay. Luke Humphries, he's done it again. Another major title for the world #1. He beats Michael van Gerwen 18-15 in Sunday night's final. Obviously, a long way to go for Luke to catch up with Michael's trophy cabinet, but he's already only the 7th player to win a 5th TV ranking title in the PDC. So let's get on to our question of the week, sponsored by Condor Darts, comparing the two finalists from Sunday. Who is going to finish their career with the most PDC World Championship titles, Luke Humphries or Michael van Gerwen?
This is a great question, and I really don't know, because on current form, Luke Humphries is the best player in the world, but Michael van Gerwen was the best player in the world for 5 years. During that period of time, he didn't really even have any major slumps. He had a couple periods where he was we battled some minor injuries, pulled out of the UK Open early in 2017, and it took most of that year to really get back to where he had been in 2016, but he did get back there. Beyond that, though, he had a good 5 years where it was a rare thing to beat him. But since then, it's been much more common to beat him. And now it's been every single ranking tournament that he's played in so far this year. He's not won a ranking event this year. He's only won one ranking event last year. He's not the same player he was before. He's arguably not even the second best player in the world right now, although he played like it this past week in Blackpool. Luke Humphries is dominant. Luke Humphries maybe not at that same level of dominance that Michael van Gerwen was in 2015 and 2016 when MVG was as good as anyone had ever been, and I'm including Phil Taylor in that. I'm not saying for those 2 years he was better than Phil Taylor ever was, but he was at that same level. He was at the same level that Phil Taylor was in 2010, 2011 when Phil Taylor reached what I think was his statistical peak. But Luke Humphries is not too far adrift in terms of dominance. He's won 5 of the last 7 major events, major ranking events, making the final of one of the other 2. He's won the World Championship. He's won the World Matchplay. He's made the final of the Premier League, which make up the Triple Crown. He is as dominant as anyone would expect to be with that depth right now. And he's nearly matching it in the other events. Over the past 2 years, he has made the final of 12 Euro Tour events, winning 6 of those finals, losing 6 as well. But he's done that from only having to play in less than all of them. He skipped 3 events in 2022. He skipped 2 each of the last 2 years. And so he's doing that from playing only about 10 of the 13 a year and making the final in more than half of them. It's just a dominant level of performance. how long does he maintain this for, especially with the depth in the game? We have Luke Littler, who is probably closer to Luke Humphries than anyone else in the world right now, even if he's had a bit of a struggle in the last couple of weeks, if you can call averaging over 100 in the first round of the World Matchplay a struggle. But he averaged a couple of matches in the 80s in the Players' Championships the week and a half before that. You also have just such a depth in the game, and it's going to make it difficult to win more world titles. But right now, I can see another world title for Luke Humphries. I can't right now for Michael van Gerwen. I just don't see enough consistency in his game. It was a great week for the 3-time world champion and 3-time World Matchplay champion, getting through to the final, beating Luke Littler in an impressive performance in the first round, winning matches when he wasn't on his best against Joe Cullen, against Andrew Gilding where he missed 36 darts at double, against Michael Smith where he missed 40 darts at double, to find ways over the line in matches where he wasn't at his best. But it caught up to him in the final because he also wasn't at his best in the final. He had his timing right. He hit the right shots at the right time throughout that entire match because it very likely could have been 9-1 to Luke Humphries when they went off the stage the second time. Luke Humphries, the way he was playing and the way Michael van Gerwen was playing, if the match had ended 18-5, you would have said, that might be a little harsh on MVG, but it was a fair score. In the end, it was 18-15 because MVG did almost everything he could to stay in that match, to force Luke Humphries to get over the line. But that's where Michael van Gerwen's game is right now. It's when everything goes right, he's still 3 legs adrift of Luke Humphries. Luke Humphries, who was very good, but not at the best that we've seen from him. That's where the questions come in. Right now, I don't see another world title for Michael van Gerwen, and he keeps moving in the wrong direction. We can take this week as a step in the right direction, but it's just one step. And everything else on his CV for the last couple of years has been a regression. So I think Luke Humphries wins at least another 2? Yeah, I think he does. Do I think MVG does? I really don't know right now. So I'm going to go Luke because I think right now I can see world titles for Luke. I can't for Michael van Gerwen.
Yes, a very tough question, isn't it? And 40% of our listeners are agreeing with you, Burton. They're going with Luke Humphries to finish with the most world titles. 46%, a little bit more, going with Michael van Gerwen, and 14% going with the same. Luke currently on 1, Michael currently on 3, and I think that 40% going with Luke Humphries, it just shows how far he's come in these last 9 months, because that haul of major titles that he's picked up is a rate that only really Phil Taylor and Michael van Gerwen have done before. And there's so many things that go into a player becoming a major champion, but then backing it up and winning multiple titles and going on a dominant run. And I think of some of the small percentages as well. And I was watching the final, I think going right back to the walk-on as well, you can see it when John McDonald, he's giving Humphries the big intro, the world number 1, world champion. He's rattling off all these big titles that Luke's won, and he's building that aura around him now. And I think that, as I say, there's small percentages in the game. The walk-on, the song as well, he's changed the song a little while ago, and the crowd are getting more involved, they're getting more behind him, and all these small things can make a little bit of a difference. And when you add to them that the level that Luke Humphries is playing at right now, he is a very tough man to beat. Luke Humphries, the first player since Phil Taylor to average over a ton in every match in a World Matchplay campaign. It is an incredible feat, especially considering the long format of these games. When you get to the latter stages, quarterfinals onwards, it's a long race to get to that finish line. And the final itself, it's the second time we've seen Luke and Michael go up against each other in a major final. That first one in Minehead last November, we saw Luke Humphries come from behind to win that one. This one, Michael van Gerwen, he led 1-0, but after that he was almost always trailing, and he did get it back to 3-all and 12-all later on, but it did feel like he was hanging on. He had those back-to-back ton plus finishes to get it level at 12-all, then the 160, the 104 to go from 16-13 to 16-15 behind and back on throw. But then those missed doubles, which didn't cost him in the previous rounds, they did on this occasion. He missed multiple darts at double in the next 2 legs, and Humphries producing that last bit of magic, the 100 finish, 20 tops to win yet another title. And we're still seeing it with these big celebrations from him when he's winning these titles. For Luke, it's the first time winning these titles, but it is starting to feel very normal for him now. This is what we've come to expect now from him. He is the world number one, the world champion, and he's hoovering up these majors at an alarming rate. And as for the world titles, it's a big question. Luke, 2 behind Michael, but that equation could look very different in January. If he defends the title, he's just 1 behind, and he's got a lot of confidence and momentum behind him. But if Michael was to pull out a 4th world title, he goes 4-1 up, and the goalposts have moved quite a bit. But like you, I think it's a lot more likely we see Luke Humphries defend than Michael van Gerwen become a 4-time. But for Luke Humphries, he has cemented himself. He's the top player in world darts right now, and it's his job now to stay there for as long as he can, keep this streak going into December, January, pick up that world title number 2. And if he does do that, then I think there is going to be serious talks about how far he can go in terms of world titles. 16, Phil Taylor, I don't think that's ever going to be tops in this modern era, but if he can get to 2 and keep this run going, then I think matching Eric Bristow, Raymond van Barneveld on 5, being the next player to get to that mark, that could be a realistic target.
Now, away from the 2 finalists, there were 30 other competitors in the men's event in the open event at the World Matchplay this past week in Blackpool. What were your main takeaways from it?
Well, I've got to start with James Wade, and hands up, I did have him losing in the first round to Danny Noppert. He was my tip to come through that quarter of the draw. How wrong was I? But it was a very impressive run from James Wade, beating Danny Noppert 10-5, and his finishing really standing out in that game. 10 from 22 on the doubles at a 95 average, backing it up in the next round against the defending champion Nathan Aspinall, who we know is not at 100% right now, but James Wade, he still had a job to do, and from 8-7 down, won the next 4 legs. And in that run of legs, I think Aspinall, he had 1 dart at the ball, that's all we got, and Wade was able to get through. But after that, the next 2 games, some really impressive stuff. The quarterfinal with Ross Smith, I think one of the best performances we've seen from James Wade on a stage for quite some time, going toe-to-toe with one of the most prolific 180 hitters in Ross Smith, who fired in 10 maximums. Wade, he gets 13 of his own and he averages a ton. It was vintage Wade, and the run, it does end in the semi-finals to the eventual winner, Luke Humphries, 17-10, which does sound a little one-sided. I've got to admit, I missed the semi-finals, but looking at the stats, to average 102, hit 44% of your doubles, it looks like he didn't do much wrong in that one. And you've only got to listen to Luke Humphries in his interviews afterwards. He was praising James Wade for his performance. And for someone that got the last spot in the field for the match play this year, he started the penultimate Players' Championship before the cut-off outside the spots he got in at the last minute, to then produce the performances that he did. That's got to be very satisfying for him. And it's got to be a real confidence boost that he's on 19 consecutive appearances for the World Matchplay. After the way he qualified for this one, there might have been some concerns about whether he is going to make it to that round number of 20 next year. But after the run he's had last week in Blackpool, he's got to believe that this can be that springboard for him to push on again now, because he's not far off the top 16. That's where James Wade will feel he should be at the very least. He'll probably think he's a top 10, top 8 player, and he went into the week in the mid-20s in the rankings, his lowest for a long, long time. But he looks to be on the up again. Aside from James Wade, I need to mention really the general standard of this tournament, because these stats via FEBS data on Twitter, 18 ton plus averages, which smashes the record for a World Matchplay, which was 13. The overall average, 97.04, that's a record as well. And the one that really stood out for me was that first round average, 97.11, which is a record for the first round of the Matchplay. And that, again, is another sign of the strength and depth that we've got in the PDC. We talk about how tough the match play is to qualify for. It is the best of the best. You might take a couple of players out, replace them with a couple others, but generally you've got the best 32 players. And we saw it with some of the debutants as well, all the debutants losing, but I think it was 2 or 3 of them averaging a ton themselves. So I think the only thing we were missing really was a few more closer games over the week. We had that Cross Van Veen sudden death game, Bunting Joyce, that went into overtime. That was on the first Sunday, but we didn't get any extra legs in any of the games after that. Michael van Gerwen, it will probably feel he should have gone extra legs in the final, but yeah, for me, that's probably the one thing that was missing in the latter part of the week. The standard was, you could say, at an all-time high for the match play, but I think we were just missing that little bit of late drama in some of the games that would have made it probably one of the best match plays we've seen.
Yeah, although in the end we had one of the best match play finals we've seen. I would put it in the top 3 in the dozen years that I've been watching. But overall, I'm going to start the same place you started, with James Wade. I don't know where that came from, because there's been nothing in James Wade's game right now that made you think that he would be playing at or near his best here. There were certainly some signs that he was playing better than he might have been 6 months ago. He'd fallen out of the spots, but he kept doing just enough, and he was getting a little bit of bad luck, losing some matches where he was playing well over the last few months, but he was not playing at a level that would make you think that he would go against a not quite on-song Ross Smith, but not too far off-song Ross Smith. Ross Smith on his A- game and out 180 him by 3. James Wade never, or at least not for a very long time, since 18 years ago when his nickname was 009, not since that era, James Wade, has he been known for his 180 hitting. But boy, was his scoring power phenomenal in that match. And his overall performance against Luke Humphries was phenomenal. He was the better player for most of that match. And it took Luke Humphries coming out of third break, going 11 and 10 darts to turn that match around, or 11 and 12 darts rather, to turn that match around, that James Wade was put away. But he still continued to play at a high level. That was a good 102 average from him, not a bad one, because it was consistently playing at a high level. There weren't many of those legs that he's known for. That he's been a player who'll average 94, but it's more of a 101 average when he's averaging 94, because he'll take legs off because he doesn't need to win them. He's a break ahead. It's the opponent's throw. The opponent kicks off 140. Wade will bide his time and be left at 216 when his opponent goes out, so that he's ready for the next leg. There was not much of that against Luke Humphries. It was a consistent performance, and he was hitting the right shots at the right time. He just wasn't hitting enough of them in the latter stage of the match when Luke Humphries just went on freak mode for a few legs to turn that match around. But boy, that was a great run from James Wade. By far the best we've seen from him in a while. And the type of run that makes James Wade look like he could still be a top 10 player. He'll need to do it more often, and he'll need to make sure that he qualifies for the World Grand Prix. He's now right there, just barely in the Pro Tour spots, although also just barely outside the top 16 of the overall order of merit. But getting back in the top 16 is the first step for him, but he looks like it. It looks like he's moving that direction after this past week. Beyond that, I echo what you said. The standard was phenomenal. Even some of the players who, going into it, we thought might not be in the best of form, like James Wade, had good performances. Ricardo Pietreczko, who was averaging 105 for much of that match against Luke Humphries. He didn't really have much of a chance. 2 legs where he missed 3 darts at double. And that might have been the difference. If he'd won those legs, it would have been 8-6 at that point. But there would have been some pressure. And at the level he was playing on, Luke Humphries might have been feeling at least some questions being asked of him. But those 2 legs that he gave away don't underscore that was a really good debut performance, especially considering the poor form that Pikachu had been on for most of this year. And I mentioned Ross Smith. He was my tip before it, going out the quarterfinal stage, but really looking the real deal in his first 2 matches, never giving Josh Rock much of a look, and always being the better player against Geraint Price. Although for a while it looked like he might lose that match, but he looked the better player in that. I'll mention one more player, Andrew Gilding. Peter Wright just never looked in that match, but Gilding, a phenomenal performance against Krzysztof Ratajski. And for at least 3 sessions against Michael van Gerwen, Andrew Gilding was the better player. He might have only been 8-7 up, but MVG was lucky to only be 8-7 down at that point. MVG had done everything right at the right times to avoid being even more down against Gilding. But Gilding then fell off the cliff, and there was just nothing left, which can be understood. He's not used to playing matches of that length. But it was a great run for Andrew Gilding, another one of those players who just barely snuck in.
Now we'll move on to our first guest on this week's show, chatting with our producer, Hanna. Here's our chat with the newly crowned 2-time Women's World Matchplay champion, Beau Greaves.
All right, and coming off of her win and defending of her trophy, we have Beau Greaves. Thank you for being here again.
Thank you.
All right, when we first got started out with Katie, it was a bit of a struggle. How did you adjust before into the semis? Was it kind of like a self-pep talk? What did you do going into it?
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt as if I was rushing and I was just desperate to win. Katie didn't play her best start, so obviously neither did I, but just happy to sort of improve after that game, and winning definitely gave me a bit of a boost, and was happy to get through that game.
Yep. And given that you're working on playing freer and not taking any losses as harsh, did you still feel that pressure in there, or were you able to just say, what comes, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, it's well, I didn't really feel pressure. I think I just wanted to sort of do well. I didn't want to come off the stage, get beat and play bad. I wanted to at least just play well, and I know if I play well, then I should sort of win or get close to winning. So, yeah, just sort of take it in my stride.
Yep. And then with the final, it was quite a high average right out of the gate. Did that just feel right going into it from the jump?
Yeah, I mean, I set off quite good. I felt comfortable, so I knew obviously it's possible. I knew I was sort of playing well. I didn't know what I was averaging, but I knew it was whatever I was doing was difficult for Fallon to keep up with. So I just tried to keep that going and keep steady and keep plodding and hit the doubles when I got down to them.
Yeah, and when you get into the final leg there, where it's looking like, this is mine, how do you keep that excitement in check while you throw to the last dart?
Yeah, it's when I just tried to keep straight on the 20, and I think I was watching Fallon. I think she might have hit a lower score than I thought. If I hit a 140 or 100, I'm right back in the leg. So I knew I stood behind Fallon. That was what I was hoping her to miss, type thing, before I had to then think, I need to hit a big score. But yeah, she sort of let me off in patches, and obviously I'm grateful for that. So it's nice to sort of play freely, and nice for us to have a good game.
And how does the second one feel? Does it still have the same luster as the first one?
I think it's even better, I think it's meant more to me, obviously, defending it. And obviously they'll come back next year as still the defending champion, so it's nice to have just that feeling again of winning, and I look forward to celebrating with my family, and I'm just proud of myself, and that I've been playing some good darts recently, so it's nice to sort of show that on stage a little bit.
Yep, and you've always had a lot of support from your family and other players. How important has that support been just to the overall journey?
Yeah, absolutely massive. I think some of the games, obviously my sister Bob is my best friend, obviously my biggest supporter, but as well I could see my mum obviously giving it all the fist bumps and stuff, so it means a lot to me, obviously, just seeing everybody in that, and it just keeps me ticked over playing well, and yeah, it just means a lot to me to have them here.
And then you've qualified for the Grand Slam again. When do you think you'll start preparing for that?
I haven't a clue. It's not even on the agenda at the minute. I think I'll probably just take what comes up before and that, and just try and slow down the darts a bit, and just enjoy what I've won, and just try and appreciate the little things in life.
And at this level, do you want to keep pushing to try to unlock another level of your game, or do you just kind of feel happy with where you're at for now?
No, I think I've got different levels. Like, I don't think I've certain games I have sort of played well, but it just depends on how long the format is and how long I can keep it up for is the problem. So, but yeah, I'm definitely still trying to. Obviously, I'm only 20, so I've still got a long time to go before I can have them better levels of my game.
Obviously, this is one of the biggest also financial prizes in darts. Any plans exciting for the money?
No, not at all. Literally just straight in the bank. Obviously, I think next year I'm hoping to get a house, so it's all towards that, and just sort of playing, enjoying, but also being realistic about life. So yeah, I look forward to whatever comes.
And most importantly, given how important it is to you, still fun after all this?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's stressful at times, but when I win, that's when I know I'm having fun, because I feel the relief and I just feel the excitement. But not just for me, for my family as well. Do you know what I mean? I know it means probably even more to them to see me win. So I think just keep enjoying it. I think that's when I play my best darts, when I'm enjoying it. So that's all I have to do at the minute, and not worry about anything else.
Excellent, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thanks again to both for joining us now. We've heard from the champion. Let's talk about the Women's World Matchplay. Took place on Sunday afternoon. Beau Greaves going back-to-back, averaging 98 in the final. That's 2 Lakeside titles, 2 Matchplay titles on the spin for her. How long is this run going to continue for?
I mean, it could continue for, well, decades, but I really don't know. And the reason I don't is because Beau Greaves has been much more inconsistent this year than we've seen from her over the last couple of years. And I don't know, I'm not exactly sure why that is. And, maybe we just heard from her. I haven't heard the interview yet. So maybe she goes into it. But, there's definitely been a couple points taken off of her average in the women's series event so far this year. She's been losing matches from winning positions. Obviously, the 4-0 lead against Noah Lynn van Leuven a few months ago in the women's series in the final, that she ended up losing that match 5-4 from 4-0 up. And she's also lost some matches to people you wouldn't expect her to lose to. Not just in the women's series, but also in other tournaments. Losing, yes, to, Vicky Prum on her day can beat almost anyone, but not the type of person you'd expect to beat Beau Greaves and beat her convincingly. Losing as well to Paula Jacklin. People, Beau Greaves almost didn't lose to anyone for her first 2 years playing the women's series. But certainly when she did lose, it was to the likes of Fallon Sherrock, not to the likes of Paula Jacklin. So there are some question marks and there are vulnerabilities. That semifinal against Mikuru Suzuki, Mikuru could have won that match. I tipped Mikuru to win the tournament, and Mikuru was probably the most consistent player over the course of the 3. Well, she only played 2 matches, but over the course of the day, she was very good against Noah Lynn van Leuven. And she was very good against Beau Greaves, but she just had a couple moments on key checkouts and doubles where she let Beau in and Beau took the chance, and that turned that match around. It was a match that could have gone the other way. And Beau Greaves did not look good against Katie Sheldon. Also, Katie Sheldon missing, one leg, Katie Sheldon was more than 200 points up on Beau Greaves against the darts, which you just never see. But Katie Sheldon just didn't take her chances. And then in the end, Beau Greaves started to come into it at the end of the match. But this could have gone a different way. But Beau Greaves also has a game where she can average 98.75 in the final. And that she trailed off. She was averaging 105, 106 for most of that match when she was 5-1 up. Beau Greaves has a level of game, and when she's playing well, can maintain that for a good part of a day when she needs to, that no one else right now in the women's game can. And if she can get back to where she was a year ago, and there's no reason to think she can't, or a year and a half ago, then yeah, this will continue for a while, because sure, Fallon Sherrock is moving back in the right direction. Sure, Mikuru Suzuki is moving back towards her best. And we're seeing players like Noah Lynn emerge, Katie Sheldon emerge, Avery McCormack emerge, and other players, Gemma Hayter. There's plenty of players on the up in the women's game that we do not know what they can achieve as they progress. But Beau Greaves is still a mile ahead of any of them when Beau Greaves is at her best. So I think this will continue for a while if Beau Greaves moves back in the right direction. But she is vulnerable, and don't let the scores this week show it, because Katie Sheldon could have beaten Beau Greaves. Mikuru Suzuki could have beaten Beau Greaves. And while Fallon Sherrock couldn't on that performance because of how absolutely brilliant Beau was for the first 6 legs of that match, Fallon Sherrock could have beaten Beau Greaves if Beau's last 3 legs were her entire match. And that's not meant as an insult to Fallon. It's just Fallon's not going to live with someone averaging 110. But Beau Greaves is vulnerable in a way that she might not have been a year and a half ago. And that's something to look forward to as the women's series progresses this year.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I think with Beau Greaves, she had some nervy moments in those first 2 games of the tournament. You mentioned that game with Katie Sheldon having chances to level up at 2 legs all, and in a race to 4 legs, it becomes a very nervy finish then. And the game with Mikuru Suzuki in the semi-finals kind of hinged on that first leg, really. Suzuki having those 6 darts at a double and missing them all and never really recovering after that. The final, a high-quality affair, especially those first 4 legs. You had Beau Greaves breaking in 13, holding in 15, Fallon responding, holding in 13, breaking in 14 for 2-all, and then Beau with another streak, 15 darter to break, 13 darter to hold, 12 darter to break, 5-2 lead. And in those 3 legs, Fallon not getting let alone a shot at a double, didn't get a chance at a check out during those 3 legs, and that took the game away from her. So it's another title to the collection for Beau Greaves, the 2 biggest titles in the women's game right now, the WDF Women's World Championships and the Women's World Matchplay in the PDC. She's now won them both multiple times, and as we know, that the title of the weekend is secured her that return to the Grand Slam and Ali Pali, the Grand Slam. We expect her to accept that invite, but as we'll come on to in a moment, Beau making her intentions clear early this year as to which World Championships she's going to opt for this winter. Last year, she joked with us she was milking it, waiting to announce her decision. But at the weekend, during her media run, she said she's going to be going to Lakeside again. And that was probably one of the main stumbling blocks for me for this question was, would Beau continue to play Lakeside instead of Ali Pali? And as long as she does, then she's going to be a big favourite to win that title for each year that comes along. The women's match play is a much shorter race, 4, 5, 6 legs across those 3 games. The first round at Lakeside, best of 3 sets, you need a minimum of 6 legs to win that, the same that you need to win the final of the women's match play. And the match play, only 8 players played in that one session, all condensed into those 3 or 4 hours of play with that high quality field, which we saw this year, 4 women's world champions plus the likes of Fallon Sherrick, Rhiannon O'Sullivan not included in that list of world champions. So it's a very strong lineup. But as we saw, as the day progressed, Beau moved through the gears that we know she has. 75 average in the first game, 88 in the second game, then 98 in the final, and it could have been 3 figures as well. But I think as long as Beau Greaves has that appetite to play in these events, she's adamant that enjoyment is her main focus right now. She's going to play in what she enjoys the most, and she enjoys playing the ladies the most, and she's going to get the main rewards doing that, playing the match play and playing the Lakeside as well. Further down the line, I think we are going to see her play against the men more often. You know, we've seen her play in the development tour, the Grand Slam again this year. I think she is going to get that urge one day to make that plunge and try and get that tour card and get back to Ali Pali again. But I think right now it's not the time for her, and she said that. And as you touched on it in our previous show, you tipped Mikuru Suzuki to win the title. I went with Fallon Sherrick, so we both went against the defending champion Beau. She beat both of them on the way to the title and with some to spare. So she is still the best female player on the planet right now. That's not up for debate in this streak of winning the big ladies titles. She is going to take some serious stopping from giving up either of them, that's for sure.
Now, also over the weekend, Beau Greaves confirmed that she will be playing Lakeside instead of Ali Pali again if she has to choose. Obviously, we don't yet know whether the PDC are going to continue to ban all the Lakeside participants. But also some honest comments after the final in her press conference saying that no female player will ever win Ali Pali. What did you make of her comments?
Yeah, some very interesting comments, and credit to Beau for using that platform that she got after winning the title to voice her opinion. And just to give you the PDC stance, the PDC Chief Executive Matt Porter, he said in response on Sky Sports News this week, we've invested over £1 million into women's darts in recent years, and we're committed to continuing to do so. We've always been clear that we see the potential for men and women to compete on a level playing field in the sport as an asset, not a hindrance, and all our events have always been open to male and female players. The progress made by so many women players in recent years shows the rich talent pool that is out there, and over the years ahead we hope to see many more women competing in our biggest events alongside male players. And we've said it before, the male versus female aspect of darts is a big USP for the PDC to promote their events, and if they hadn't have introduced spots for the ladies players in events like the World Championship, would we even be talking about a women's world match play or a women's series? I don't think it's unfair to say that had the PDC not brought in those female spots, then those events wouldn't exist right now, not under the PDC's umbrella anyway. But the PDC, they have put a lot into ladies darts over the last 4 or 5 years, a lot of investment, the playing opportunities, that having their own event on TV, it's a big deal, and there's already an argument about the Women's World Matchplay being the top event for the ladies to compete for now. And the Women's Series, that is where you are going to see more of the best female players competing against each other regularly, and we're seeing it year after year, that strength in depth increase. And I think what we want to see is more ladies get involved and play in those events. We'd love to see those weekends attracting entries above the 100 mark more regularly, and perhaps hitting that 1-8 a full first round draw as well. And I've said it a few times on the show, but I think the PDC's rule to stop the female players from playing both the Lakeside and Ali Pali, it was the wrong decision, and as it turned out, it's harmed them more. As the star female player, Beau Greaves, she's going against the grain, she's choosing Lakeside over Ali Pali, and having the Women's World Champion in the field for Ali Pali, it would have been a big plus. But as for a female player ever winning Ali Pali, it does seem some way off, and that's not to say it's never going to happen, but I think it's more likely to happen if we've got female players becoming established with a tour card. They're competing against the world's best week in, week out, and that is going to be a gradual process. We've seen before Lisa Ashton have a tour card, and it's one thing winning the card, which is an incredible achievement, but it's another thing keeping it and then making more progress. I think the lack of TV stage time for the ladies, can we see more events on TV? I think that could be the next step, and we put a tweet out, the unofficial PDC Women's Order of Merit based on the prize money won in Women's Series and Women's World Match Plays the last 2 years. Beau leading it by some way, close to 70 grand. Fallon and Makuru both above 30 grand, Lisa above 20. But beyond that, the bulk of players earning somewhere between £1,000 to £5,000. So the Women's Series, we know, is not the be all and end all. There's other events, but with that prize fund, I think we want to see that go up, don't we? We want to see more ladies being able to turn professional, earn that decent wage, and I think that is what is going to drive the standard up in the ladies' game. And who knows, eventually we will see more ladies players get on the tour and compete against the best. But until that happens, I think we are, as Beau says, I'm going to have to agree with her, I think we are some way away from seeing a female player go into Ali Pali as a top contender.
Yeah, I agree that we're a ways off from that, and a lot of that starts at the youth level. And it's been a few years now since I've seen the participation data, but I remember looking into it. I had been around the pandemic or right before the pandemic, with JDC numbers and other numbers, and you're often seeing a 3 or 4 to 1 ratio between the number of boys and the number of girls playing, and that continues for a long time, and it continues, you can see the effects of that in those Women's Series numbers, where you're seeing only 60, 70 people come out for a given weekend. Now there's 2 reasons for that. One, it's a lot to ask someone to travel with not that much money on at stake and not that much to play for, especially if you are quite a bit worse than the people who are at the top of the game, and you have the best female players there who are 10 to 20, maybe even 30 points above some of, at least in Beau Greaves' case, but she's playing at her best, among people who are somewhat competitive with a lot of the other women at the event. But the other part of it is that there are fewer female players who are playing, and that starts at the youth level. I think the numbers are narrowing, at least I hope they are. The little I have heard it seemed to indicate that you're seeing more girls pick up and to narrow that gap. And as more younger players get involved, you're going to see more younger players come up like Beau Greaves and hit heights that female players haven't hit before. But it's going to come from the grassroots, even before they get to the Women's Series. So right now, I don't see a female player who's good enough to win Ali Pali. I don't know how good Beau Greaves can get. But right now, she went to the World Championships. I would not expect her to win. If she's on her game, I could see her beating almost anyone in the world that she could possibly draw first and second round. I could also see her playing phenomenally and losing 3-0. But do I see her in a best of 13 set match against Luke Humphries winning that match? No, I see her losing 7-0 or 7-1 as the most likely outcome because the consistency isn't there yet. And you need to be consistent and over a long period of time to win the World Championship. But that can change as she tests herself and as she plays more. I was talking with someone when I was in New York for the World Series events, and Beau Greaves came up, and the person said that, just didn't think that she's good enough. And then suddenly the following weekend, she wins a youth tour event and played phenomenally en route to winning that youth tour event. But that's still that's still a ways below winning the world title. I think it's something that could happen, but it's going to require more investment in the women's game and I shouldn't say in the women's game, in the girls' game, to get people at that youth level, so that maybe one day there can be a Luke Littler from the girls' ranks that comes up and at a young age is already a superstar, kind of like Beau Greaves, but even better.
Now move on to our final guests on this week's show. Great to chat to both of these players at the recent Operation BULLSEYE exhibition in Blackpool. Here's our chat with Alan Soutar and Christian Perez.
Pleased to say we're joined by one of the newest PDC title winners, Alan Soutar. Thanks for the time. How are you doing?
Yeah, great. And it's funny when you're kind of getting introduced as a title winner, and the PDC is crazy, but it's brilliant.
Well, we'll come on to that title in a moment. We are talking in Blackpool just before the Operation BULLSEYE darts exhibition gets underway as part of the RAF. Obviously, it's a part of it that means a lot to you. So just talk to us about what tonight means.
Yeah, I think I didn't really think it was going to be like what it is. We're actually sitting in the venue now looking about before it gets filled, and it's absolutely amazing. For guys that are not dart people and they're just finding their feet, the setup in here is incredible. And to see all the guys going about in the uniforms, they're all in the number one dress, which is amazing. They're going to be roasting, because it's roasting in here, it's Blackpool. But obviously I'm ex-forces, ex-army, ex-29 commando, and there's a few of the guys from my regiment coming tonight, so that'll be a really cool link-up. And just to see, I actually said to one of them earlier, to see the guys in their dress uniform smiling. It's not a Remembrance Sunday, it's not a parade, it's a social event, and they're all dressed smart as they can, but they're going to enjoy themselves and have a good night, so I'm here to be part of that.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it, and we obviously have to talk about the big win a month ago, picking up your first PDC title. Just give us some of your memories that have stuck with you from that title a month ago.
Yeah, amazing, and obviously it has kind of turned my season and maybe even my tour card around, so that's the biggest thing that I can take from it. But the whole day was just one of those days where every dart player has them days that you just click and you're playing well. And I played a few mission guys on the way actually, and to beat Martin Lukeman and Richie sort of back-to-back games, those two sort of have me in their back pocket. So to beat both of them, and against Richie I had 107 point odd average, and after that game I thought, you know what, you're getting close here. And I think when you get to the quarters and the semis, you start thinking, can you really go on and win it? And to get to the final and play, I had a 98 average all day, so in that room to do that is special. And I think from a guy that always plays the darts down as I'm not a professional, I'm just a part-time player, to come out of that room as the winner is amazing, really amazing.
And what a way to win it as well. 7-all against Dalgony, 180, an 11 darter on Friday. I mean, that's the leg of dreams.
I know, the only thing I could have done better was have a 9 darter, but if you said at the 7-all you're going to go off 180, you would absolutely bite the hands off for that. So yeah, when I've watched it back about 1,000,000 times, to be honest, that leg is so good, and just good to finish it off as well, not faff about in the double and look like, it's his first title, he's going to bottle it or any of that stuff. So that was really, really great leg, and special memories that, if you never win another title, you can say you've won a title on the PDC, won the Pro Tour. So yeah, amazing.
And as the week panned out, that was as good as it got for Scotland, didn't it?
Right, that's end interview.
I know you went to see the Scotland squad before they went to the Euros. You're a big supporter of them, but obviously it didn't work out for them in the Euros.
Nah, do you know what? The thing we done with the squad before they went was just a sort of team building thing, and it was an amazing experience for me as a football fan, as a passionate Scot. It was just great to be involved with the guys who they were kind of looking at me like they've all followed me on Twitter and on when I play Ali Pally and that, and to speak to them that way was like, wow, because we obviously look up to them as a national team, but Scotland, no, we are always minnows and we're underdogs at football all the time. And to be honest, Spain are going to win on Sunday, and Scotland and Scotland are going to be the only team that's beat them in the Euros, because we beat them 2-0 in the qualifying campaign, which is crazy that we couldn't do anything over in Germany, but I think the Tartan Army made quite a few friends over there.
Something to cling on to.
Yeah.
But, let's get back to yourself. Obviously, the title, you said it could be season career defining for your tour card. Obviously, last year didn't go according to plan. You said before about being in the green to get into some of these majors. You missed out. How tough was it to miss out on those?
I think when you,
And what do you think?
you know what, it makes your whole season rubbish, because you're not Ali Pally at the end, you're not in the Players' Championship, and then you start seeing yourself drifting down the tour card race. And I think people say, oh, you don't look at that, but every player does. That ranking page is huge, and being in the green is what everything's about for every tournament. And to win that Pro Tour last season, I won 24 grand total. This season I'm already on over 30,000 on my rankings, and there's still 16 Pro Tours to go and other events that I'm not in, but I'm pretty confident that I'll be in the Players in the World now already. So let's push on and try and maintain that and stop getting beat first round. That's my last year. I got beat first round so many times, and if I can even just put first round wins on the board, get to a board final, maybe win your board, that all adds up to keeping your card, and that's what it's about really.
Definitely does. If you can get to the Worlds, the tour card kind of goes hand in hand there. My co-host Burton, he reckons that 30 grand will get you to the World Championship. You're already just past that, so it's looking good. But another event that could be on the radar now, the World Grand Prix. You're £1,000 off.
I know. I've seen that, and people have been talking to me about it, but it's not something I think about, if I'm being honest. And that would be an absolute bonus. Like what we just talked about, all this interview is about keeping your card, and if I manage to keep my card, that's great. All the other stuff that comes on top of that, Grand Prix would be pretty special, but it's double start, double finish, so it'd be as well not going, wouldn't it? Double start, double. No, I would obviously love to be in them all, but it's very hard. You know, it's hard to be in these big ones that there's only 32 players, and like the match play this weekend. That's like, to qualify for that, you deserve to be in that, because it's such a tough thing to qualify for. So let's see. I'm going to keep trying anyway. Definitely
in the race. Well, we've got a few weeks now before the next Pro Tour. Obviously, busy exhibitions tonight. What's the next few weeks look like for you darts-wise?
Darts-wise is actually crazy, because I'm actually got 2 more weeks of work, and then I'm off on holiday, and I'm going to Australia for a break to see our young lad who lives over there. But I'm doing a few exhibitions in Australia as well. So it's a busman's holiday, kind of going for a break, but still exhibitions. And then the exhibitions in Australia and the holiday are sandwiched between 2 sets of Pro Tours in Milton Keynes, so pretty much going to be away for the whole of August. And then September's looking really busy as well. So I think people don't realise how busy you are. I know people say the calendar's chock-a-block, but if you've got a full-time job and you've got a family and guide dogs and exhibitions, it's just, I honestly, people always say to me, I don't know how you do it, and sometimes when you sit and you get interviewed, you don't really think about it until you get asked the questions, and you think, how do you do it? I really don't know, because sometimes I don't know where you are half the time. You know, you're just travelling all over the world, which we're not going to complain. It's a great sort of, this last 3 years have been amazing, so long may it continue.
Definitely living the dream. So it's always a pleasure to chat. Congrats on that title a few weeks ago, and wish you all the best for the rest of 2024.
Thank you very much. Mission for the win.
I'm pleased to say we're joined by the Philippines PDC tour card holder, Christian Perez. Thanks for the time. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm actually happy to finally meet you and have a time with you.
It's great to chat with you, and we're talking in Blackpool for the Operation BULLSEYE darts exhibition. Is this your first time in Blackpool, or have you been here before?
Oh, this is my first time in Blackpool, and this is the first time also to be in an exhibition game. I feel nervous about it.
More nervous than playing in a tournament?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And how did it come about, you getting involved in tonight?
I was invited by Dom Taylor, so he was my practice partner back at Bristol. He invited me to be here, so I do thank him for having me here.
Excellent. Well, hope it all goes well. Obviously, you're on the tour now, but let's go back to the start for you in darts. Growing up in the Philippines, how did you discover darts?
My father's playing darts, so I get involved because we have a dartboard at home. So I finally grabbed some darts and enjoy it.
And did you love it straight away? Were you like, I really want to keep playing, or did you drop it down, pick it up again?
Yeah, I love it. Since the first time I have it, and I really enjoy it, and then I continue loving it until now.
And what's the dart scene like in the Philippines when you started? Was it pretty quiet? Has it got bigger over the years?
Over back then in Philippines, it's hard because a lot of tournament. When you were young, you can hardly won any event, but eventually times goes on and get some good sponsorship, and then I finally made it to the top of the Philippine darts.
Yeah, we've certainly seen that, and one of the first times we saw you on a big stage was the World Championship in 2009, 2010.
Yeah. That was my first time.
And was that the first time coming over to the UK?
Yes, that was my first time also, and finally I won a match against Denmark player Pearl Larsen. I was happy about it.
What was the experience like, obviously coming over here, but also playing at Ali Pali, which is such a big venue for darts?
Yeah, it's a big challenge because everybody back home has a great expectation about you, and then it was tough.
And we've seen the PDC; they've got more involved in Asian darts. Obviously the Asian tour started, we had a bit of a break during the pandemic, but it's come back, and one of the events we've seen is the Asian Championship. You were the first winner of the Asian Championship. What did that win mean to you?
Well, it really means a lot to me because being the winner for the first time, it makes you an history to be a winner for the first time. And the PDC is doing well in Asia. We have it since 2018, and right now they're expanding. A lot of country involved, like Mongolia, like Philippines, Korea, Malaysia. Yeah,
it's great to see. And 2023 last year, we see you go to Q School. What persuaded you to give that a go?
I have my family. I can't just go here to UK and then thinking about my family. I have to settle first my family before going here to UK. And one more thing is I don't have the visa. I need to secure a visa. It takes a lot of time to secure it. So I missed a lot of opportunity last year. But eventually this year I finally made it.
No, it's good to see more of you this year. And when you got that tour card, what was that moment like when you found out that you had one?
Oh, I thought I was or not in the row because I lost a game. When I finally found out that I get a tour card, I was so happy. It was massive for me because it was my dream to have a tour card. It was my dream to just even play in the Q School. That was my dream 10 years ago. And then I finally won, and I was so happy about it.
A great moment. And as you say, we didn't see a lot of you last year because you had your visa problems. We did see you in the World Cup of Darts, though. We've seen you play in that event a few times. What's it like to put on that Philippines shirt and represent your country?
Yeah, it's a proud moment to wearing the Philippine shirt and to play for your country. It was a great opportunity to play with your country.
And last year you were with Lawrence Alagan. He's got a lot of fans. We love watching him. We don't see him very often on the TV. Any chance we see him go to Q School one day?
Probably. I've told him to go for the Q School. I will let him know that you have to have that tour card to compete against the world's best. A lot of Filipino players. They're good, but they don't want to play Q School yet. But hopefully someday they will join Q School and have their own tour card too and get involved in Pro Tour.
And as you say, it's such a big commitment coming over, playing all these events, obviously moving, spending time over here. What's the setup like for you this year? Because we have seen more of you on the tour. Are you spending more time in the UK? Going back, how does it work at the moment?
Yeah, currently I stay in Bristol. I arrived in UK last February, and then I stay here until the end of the year to participate for the Pro Tour. It was hard because it needs a lot of sacrifice to be away with your family and also the expenses traveling around, but I think I can handle it.
And you had a great result early on, a semi-final in the Players' Championship, beating Gerwin Price, Raymond van Barneveld, two big names in darts. What do you remember about that day, getting that far?
Yeah, I just wanted to win. I want to prove something that I'm good. I'm good at it, and I don't want to waste my time in here. I just wanted to win something to be proud of.
And as we said, first player from the Philippines to get a tour card, first player from the Philippines to play on the Euro Tour as well earlier this year. What was that like?
wow, it was massive because I don't know about Euro Tour. I only knew about Pro Tour, so I don't know about anything about darts here in UK. So I'm finally I figure out how to involve in Pro Tour and Euro Tour. You need to qualify for it, and then yeah.
What's the plan for the rest of this year? Are you going to be playing all of the Players' Championships, trying to get high up the rankings as you can?
Yes, I will definitely finish the year playing Pro Tour. The rest of the Pro Tour, I will play.
And have you looked further ahead, like what you might do next year? If you keep your card, are you going to carry on, or if you lose your card, are you going back to Q School? Have you looked that far ahead yet?
If I gonna make it to the top 64, then great. But if not, I'm gonna play Q School again next year, and to have my tour card back again. And let's see how it goes.
Excellent. And lastly, you've had 18 months on the tour so far. A lot more playing this year. What is the biggest thing you've learned playing on the professional circuit?
Oh, I learned a lot. There's so much to learn because I'm still new to the Pro Tour. I wanted to learn about anything. It's hard because sometimes your draw is against top seed, and then they're good. They're very tough player, and I wasn't expecting that much because they're good. But I just wanted to try my best, and let's see how it goes. And to get hopefully someday I could get the title from the PDC. That's my dream. It's my dream.
Fingers crossed. Well, Christian, it's great to chat with you. Brilliant to meet you, and wish you all the best for the rest of 2024.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thanks again to Alan and Christian for joining us. Now finishing up the show with the mailbag. We've got 3 questions to get through before we go. The first one coming from Big G180. Is Humphries going to clean sweep the rest of the majors and be the first to break £2 million on the Order of Merit?
Is he going to clean sweep the rest of the majors? No, he's not going to clean sweep them, although he definitely could. But I'm not going to predict that he's going to win the Grand Prix, the European Championships, the Grand Slam, the Players' Championship finals, and the World Championship back to back. He could, but I'm not going to predict that. But is he going to do enough across those that he crosses the 2 million? I think it's definitely possible. I mean, if he wins the World Championship, that'll put him at 2 million, even if he loses first round in the others. If he wins a couple of the others and makes the semifinals in the World Championship, especially with 4 Euro Tours still left on the calendar, it becomes a possibility. I think there's a very strong likelihood that he'll cross 2 million, but I still put it at slightly below 50%. It's much, much more likely, though, that he crosses the 1.81 or 1.82 is what he'll need to pass MVG at his peak. That I think will certainly happen unless Luke really falls off a cliff from here. So I'll say no, he's not going to clean sweep him. But you know what? I'll go yes. He will cross the 2 million mark.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. And we were talking about this briefly off air during the week. I asked you what's the record amount someone's had on the PDC Order Merit, and you said Michael van Gerwen had 1.8 million once upon a time, and Luke Humphries, by winning that title of the weekend, the World Matchplay, is up to £1,650,750, which is quite remarkable, and almost 600,000 clear of Michael Smith in second spot. But as for getting to that 2 million mark, I think he's got a very strong chance now after what he's done over the last 9 months. There's not a lot that he's got to defend on his ranking for the next 6 months or so. I was just looking at his results from the back end of 2022 and compare it to what he's doing at the moment. First round of the Grand Prix, quarterfinals of the European Championship, and then semi-finals of the Grand Slam and Players' Championship finals, and round 4, the last 16 at Ali Pali. So yeah, if he wins another title, wins another 2 titles, he's making up a lot of money there. And I think his money for the next 6 months or so is going to be around that 1.5 to 1.6, regardless of his results that he gets. And it could all hinge on Ali Pali, couldn't it? Because if he goes and wins Ali Pali, I think he's pretty much guaranteed then to get to that 2 million mark. And what an achievement that would be for him, not just for Luke Humphries, but I guess a nice advert for the PDC and the professional game to say that this is what our top player can win in ranking events alone. 2 million would be quite the feat. And Luke, based on what he's done over the last 9 months, he's put himself in a very good chance of doing that.
And our next question comes from Tuna. Would you want to go out for a night partying with Dimitri Vandenberg?
Absolutely. And I've got a glimpse of a night on the tiles with Dimmy when I was in Blackpool for that Operation BULLSEYE exhibition the week before last. Now I went to the exhibition, then a few of us went out on the Blackpool strip afterwards, and shout out to Alan Soutar and his manager Paul Brown. It was nice to share a few drinks with them. I need to return the favour next time, but I didn't make it as far as the famous Trilogy nightclub, formerly Home HQ, where those clips of Dimmy dancing surfaced on social media over the weekend. And I've got to say, I don't think my dance moves will stand up with Dimmy's. I think the best I can offer is asking the DJ to play Don't Stop the Party and doing Peter Wright's move on his walk on when he jumps across the stage, or failing that, maybe pull out the crane in homage to the GOAT in darts, Coast Dompe as a backup. But for night partying with Dimmy, yeah, I think you'd have a great time. Count me in.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like he'll be a lot of fun. I can't say I've had a night partying with him, but I have seen him out on a night at one of the Players Championship events, but there were probably 40 players out then. But yeah, I think he'd be a lot of fun to hang out with for an evening partying. Our
last question in the mailbag comes from one of our sponsors, Quiff, saying, how lucky is the PDC to have a man as articulate, that's bad for me, and full of humility as Luke Humphries as the poster boy of the sport?
Yeah, ironic how you asked that question there. But you could have also tried to not be full of humility and said that it was an editing mistake on how the mispronunciation of articulate come up to really bring out the irony of the question. Obviously, though, I think he's a great front man for the sport right now. The sport's had really different personalities for the three front men before counting him as as at that same level as Phil Taylor and Michael van Gerwen had been. And I think MVG got a lot of unfair hate, partially because he wasn't English, and also I think because, especially earlier in his career when his English wasn't as good as it is now, I think he was a little misunderstood at times. And MVG certainly at his best was arrogant, but I think he was misunderstood as being rude or condescending when he didn't necessarily mean that. He just didn't. The words he was looking for in English didn't come out correctly. And I think he got a lot of flack that he didn't deserve, that hardened his personality for a while. But Luke Humphries has been a fantastic base for the sport so far, and long may that continue. I think the PDC definitely is not complaining that Luke Humphries is, as you put in the question, their poster boy.
Yeah, and I think we're not the first ones to say it. I'm sure we've probably said it before on this show at some point over the last 9 months, but what an ambassador for darts Luke Humphries is. Even as he was climbing up through the ranks, he's always spoken well. He's given a great interview, and he's always had time for everyone. Even this podcast, we know it's probably harder to get him on for a one-on-one chat these days now, as he's been pulled here, and everywhere. There's a lot more media commitments as world champion, and the wave he's currently riding on, everyone wants to hear from him. But I know that when we do get that time with him, hopefully at some point soon, he is going to be his usual self, always gracious with his time and happy to chat with us. Now, I think the last time we actually had Luke on with us was after he won the Grand Prix, his first major, and he missed the time slot we'd arranged with him, but he was quick to make some time for us later that day. So he's not one for shirking his responsibilities, and he's got a lot more of them now as world champion and a world number one. And a few people they've said that Luke Humphries, he's not got the limelight he deserves. A lot of it has been taken away by Luke Littler, and some of that rightly so. He's run to the world final at 16 years old, and what he's achieved this year, winning the Premier League, all those 9 darters and other titles. But just lastly on this, for some well-established news outlets to kind of brush under the carpet what Luke Humphries achieved at the weekend, winning the World Matchplay and shoehorning Luke Littler winning the Cheshire Open as the headline. No disrespect to the Cheshire Open, they're going to be delighted with the added exposure. But if Humphries didn't have the character he has, being the articulate and humble champion he is, we might have seen him kick up a fuss, but he's not like that. And for me, that is just another reason why he is such a wonderful ambassador for darts and the PDC.
Know anything else for this week?
Well, a few things. We put out a tweet during the World Matchplay on the Sunday, the first Sunday. We said if anyone could correctly predict the time that the Dave Chisnall-Christoph Ratajski match would finish, it was that bumper day at darts. They wanted to get it done before the Euro final. We're not going to talk about that game, but one of our listeners, Joshua O'Brien, he said 7:57. I think that's pretty bang on. So there's your shout out. A few thank yous as well. Thank you to our guests for joining us, to Beau, Alan and Christian for their time. 3 in-person interviews for you this week, and we've had a few of them recently. It's always nice to chat to our guests in person when the opportunity presents itself. So shout out to the PDC for hosting our producer Hanna at the Women's Match Play at the weekend. Shout out to Lee Fox and Zara Durrant for inviting me to the Operation BULLSEYE exhibition. Brilliant night to be a part of. Lots of money being raised for charity as well. And thank you to our sponsors as well, to Darts Corner, Condor Darts and Quiff, for their continued support. Links in the description. Do go and check them out. Thanks to everyone for listening as well. Not sure when we're going to be back next week, as I've just seen we've got the Pro Tours going on Wednesday through to Saturday with the Euro Tour qualifiers. So we may come back the week after with a regular episode. But in the meantime, I'm hoping to attend the UKDA National Finals here in Bolton at the weekend. So I'll try and grab a few interviews from that. So hang tight for them. And if you are going to be there, do come and say hello. And if you're there watching the darts or playing the darts, make sure you enjoy the darts.
Yes, indeed. It's a slow time of the year coming up. Obviously, there's a trio of Players' Championship events in about a week and a half, and then some World Series events in Australia and New Zealand. But a lot more time to reflect over the first half of the year and to start looking ahead. So if there's anything you want us to discuss, let us know. If there's anyone you want us to get on, let us know. Or anything else, let us know, unless we don't want to know, in which case, don't let us know. But that's for you to decide. Until then, just hang tight.